Algebra 1, variables and functions, unknown value and variables. Okay, we learn about variable and the function. The variable, unknown value become variable when there are two unknown value, and it shows the relationship. So that's create a function. So here we learn about what kind of type of function we have. Okay, and first type we know is even function. What is an even function? Even function is like the 0. When x is 0, y is say minus 10, and x is 2, y is minus 6. But when x is negative 2, then y has the same value. So from 0, you look at the distance, 6 to 26, negative 6 to 26. Okay, so this is, you can tell, say you have to learn how to use the graph. In the graph you have 0, 2, 4, 6. You mark this on the both side. This is number line. Remember the 0 in the middle, and the positive here and negative here, and the y same way, 0 here, it's a positive here and negative here. And if you put those dots on the graph and connect them together, this is a kind of function we have here. So f y equals function of x. We learned about this, right, in the previous video. And this is symmetric along this y axis. This kind of function is called even function. And what's happened is fx equal f negative x. That means the, say, f, or here, f2 is negative 6, f negative 2 is also negative 6, f4 is 6, f negative 4 is 6, the f6 is 26, f negative 6. So this is fx equals f negative x. Okay, so this kind of function is called even function. The y is related to x in very peculiar way. The x value, negative x value, it's produce the same y. Okay, so even function has the same y value for x and negative x. This is the way we described even function. Okay, here's a question. Y equals xn. For example, y equals x2 or x3, so and so. To make it even function, n must be what? Okay, so if n is 2, 2 to the 2, is it even function? If you give negative 2, yeah, you multiply even times, it's same. So it's an even function, right? How about 3? Is it going to be same as, no, this is odd number, so this is going to be negative. Negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2 is going to be negative. This is positive, so it's not same. So this is not even function. Okay, so the when this kind of function become even when n is even. Okay, so even function created by even n. It sounds very good, right? Because the n even number is related to even function. Okay, let's look at the, if we talk about even, we have to talk about odd function too. What is odd function? It's not a strange function, it's odd. Okay, for example, x is 0 is y is 0. It can be an odd number. Okay, the point is when x is 2 it's 8, but negative 2 then negative 8. The sign follows. This can be opposite. Okay, when x is 2 negative 8 and x is negative 2 positive 8, that is okay too, as long as the sign is inverted, right? So distance here, remember even function, if it's the same distance from 0 x value, then y is the same. But odd function means sign is opposite. So a little bit more complicated than even function. So we write f equals negative x. For example, right? If x6 is 216, negative 6, the function value will be negative 216. So we can say 6 equals negative 6, right? Because this negative 216 multiplied by negative 1 make a positive 216. Okay, so this is the condition for odd function. And as usual, you draw the odd function and you have 2, 4, 8. You have y from 0 to 4, 8, so on so. So you make this dot on the graph and connect them, then it's look like this. So it's not symmetric by y, instead it's point symmetric. Do you remember point symmetric? Point symmetric is this side you rotate 180 degree, then it's exactly overlap this one. It's called point symmetric. Okay, so if negative 1, f of negative 1 is negative 1, f1 is 1. We know if same value, the opposite sign give opposite y value. That's odd function. Okay, odd function is the same as even function, but the sign is opposite. X and y equal x to the nth. Okay, what is the condition to be odd function? Well, y equals, say, if x is 2, then it's 4, negative 2, then 4. This is even function, right? If y is 3 or negative 3, it's going to be, 2, negative 2, it's going to be 8, and this is going to be negative 8. So this is odd function. Okay, so when n is odd number, it will be odd function. Okay, so now we know even function and odd function. Okay, we talk about shifted function. Let's talk about why shifted function first. It's easier. Shifted function is, suppose you have a function x and y. Y is a function of x. Okay, shifted function is, you have a function, you draw the graph. Okay, say this is a function graph, some strange shape. You select each dot on the graph, x and y, and you get this. And the shifted means exactly same shape, but y is this much higher always. For any x, we write it this one. So b shifted amount. Okay, so shifted function b is always fx plus b. Whatever function give, you add a b, you get the shifted function's value. Okay, if f of 6 is 26, okay, then fb of 6 will be 30 if shift amount is 4. Okay, so shifted functions, simply you add the value to the function, then you can get this one, because you are adding b to every y value. Everything move up by shift amount, right? So we call that shift, y shift function. If you find any function and make a table adding some number, shift amount, then you get the shifted function value here. Okay, shifted function is the same function as the original, but fx value increased by the amount of shift. Okay, okay, so this question we take care of later. Let's shift x side, see what will be the difference. Okay, we go back here, x shift. Suppose you have a function y equals f of x, right? So this is the function, and you draw this. For example, x is 0, y is 2. So this kind of strange shape function, if you plot x and y, okay, now x shift, you want to add value to x, so this is going to be look like everything's moving to the x, right? So think about how do we do this. Okay, the f shift of x, this means, okay, this value x gives fsx, and since it's shifted, x minus s gives the same value. So shifted function and before shift function will be this kind of relationship. Okay, that is this one. X shifted function is going to be fx minus s. If you shift amount of s you deduct from x, it's going to be s shifted function toward positive. Okay, so you have to be careful. Remember y shifted function, f shifted function was f plus b, right? In this case, x minus s will be inside f. Okay, so that's going to be x shifted function. For example, f6 equal 26, then shifted function 3, you shift by 3 toward x, will be again 26 after you shifted. So 6 minus shift amount is 3, which is this one. You get it? Next function type is inverse function. What is inverse function? Well, when you have y equals f of x, the function, inverse function, is x equals f of y. You swap x and y. What kind of effect can you expect to see this on the xy coordinate? Okay, we are swapping x and y. So if you have some function like this, the x goes, x is this one, goes to here, and the y goes here. Okay, so every point on the function line will be moved to the other side. The x, now y look like x and x look like a y. That means it's symmetric. Symmetric to what? Symmetric with respect to 45-degree line. So it's like you rotated coordinate along this line. Okay, so if the function is like this, use a different color. Okay, after you swap x, y, it's going to be like that. So it's always symmetric with respect to 45-degree line. So what's so important about this? In the table you can see, well, let's see, this you can rewrite to g of x, right? Or we indicate that inverse function of f. The reason is, when the original function is, say, 2x minus 3, x equals 2y minus 3 is inverse function. And if you change this to y equal, then let's see, plus 3 over 2. Yeah, so obviously this function is different from this one. So if this is f of x, this will be g of x. Or you can write it came from f originally, right? So f to the negative 1 inverse of f x. It's just a math notation. Okay, so that's the inverse function. Let's see, inverse function of odd function is also odd function. So odd function is y equals negative x, right? Okay, so what's happened is inverse function is y. So what happens if you put negative y instead? Then x should be equal to oh, this is the inverse function, sorry, right? Is that correct? So inverse function of odd function, if this is odd function, okay, inverse function is also odd. You get this? The inverse function will be y equals, right? And now we know fx is inverse function, so this will be like that. That means f negative y equals negative x. Well, we invert this again, then what happens is correct? Yeah. So y equals, so this inverse function again odd function, right? The inverse function of x shifted function is a y shifted function, f shifted function. Okay, inverse function of f shifted function. So inverse function is this, right? And x shifted function is y shifted function. So what it's saying is x shifted function is going to be y shifted. So suppose y equals f x minus, you have a shift amount. Okay, so x s equals, this is the inverted function, right? Then you can put s here. Is that right? Oh, no. Okay, you have to be careful. What is the inverted function of this? X and y, you have to swap. So x equals f y minus s. This inverted function is y minus s equals the f inverted function x. So move s here. Here you go. Okay. What's happened to the inverse function of even function? Write one of following below. Okay. Even function, inverted function of even function is even again. Okay. Let's explain this graphically. Even function is symmetric on this. Okay. When you inverted function will be like this, right? So this part will be symmetric to this. This part will be symmetric to this. Okay, so inverted function is the this is gonna be x, this is gonna be y. Okay, this is gonna be x and this is gonna be y. So it's not even, odd, none, right? It's not gonna be inverted function of even function, not gonna be even or odd. It's gonna be none of above. Okay, so only odd function will be, let's verify this, right? See, suppose you have an odd function. Odd function is like that. It's point symmetric here. Okay, so if it's inverted, it's going to be like that, 45-degree symmetric. So it's going to be odd function again. So odd, invert, odd function. Well, spend a little bit more time in practice area to get familiarized on the inverted function. Inverted function become very important in Algebra 2 because a lot of inverted function, like exponential function, is inverted to log function. Okay, so spend some time on the inverted function in practice area, so you know exactly what you are dealing with here. Inverted function is very important in the algebra later on. Okay, thank you for listening. I meet you in the next video.